Van Verk. It's great to have you with us. Awesome job, as always, by you and the crew at Cooperstown. It's such a cool event, right? Going there and seeing all those Hall of Fame.
Maybe that's where Buffalo came from. I was up near Buffalo.
New York,
Cooperstown.
Very good point.
I'm trying to figure that out.
I tell you, I was watching at my desk. I said, one of the coolest parts is when Brian Kenny's introducing all those guys and they come out and you go, oh, my God, Juan Marichal. Like, it's amazing to see those names there.
You know, the speeches were phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, Fred's speech talking about meeting his wife, Burger King. Scott Rowland talking about, Dad, I did that. The things that I could do that you may not be able to do. Yeah. And then it was all about their work ethic. It was really awesome.
Yeah, Scott Rowland also coaching his 15-year-old's team. I like the fact he gave a shout out to those guys.
They were all there.
He had his team there.
They were all there. Cameraman was going like this. It wasn't scripted, but they were there.
It was great to see. All right, from the Hall of Fame to trade deadline right around the corner, so 30 seconds to put it on the clock.
Right.
This is an inspired first pitch of the trade deadline. So Angels having communications about Ohtani potentially being dealt. What do you think about how this is going to transpire the next week?
Well, they got to be ready.
Yeah.
You know, look, the one thing it comes down to, are you going to sign him or are you not? Can they sign him? Absolutely. They have the money. Artie's shown that. He's done that. But it comes down to, will they be able to work something out? If they don't work anything out, yes, of course you have to move it. That's all it comes down to for me.
So you think if you can't work out an extension on the next week, just trade?
Or an agreement to get that point, yeah, he's got to go. I got to keep the organization moving forward.
Right.
And he can bring back too much for you.
Can't lose something for nothing. Meantime, next up, Jonathan India and the Reds. So the Reds right now, they're in the thick of it, playing some better baseball. Brewers still in first place.
Is he waving by?
Well, per the report, he could be. Jonathan India could be in the move. They could use some starting pitching help. Maybe you flip India. What do you think?
Well, he's a good piece. I mean, they've got McClain. They've got different guys that can fit in there and see what they might do to replace him. So, yeah, he's the guy that, you know, Rookie of the Year. But he's starting to get back together again this year. So, yeah, I can see this being somebody that happens to move.
But you're right. You got other guys. You got McClain, you got Steer, you got Ellie De La Cruz. Let's trade India. Let's get some pitching and help Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott. All right, next up, David Bednar. Guy's an all-star closer with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Apparently, he could be on the move as well. Everyone's always looking for a reliever. H, you know that trade deadline time. This could be a good piece for the Pirates.
Not the big name everybody's expecting, but he's been consistent, man. 2 times. I mean, back-to-back years, he's been fantastic. And he's getting a lot of folks out. But it's kind of... It's hard to see because the Pirates are finally starting to put things together a little bit.
Correct.
But maybe he doesn't fit into their time window. And yes, again, you got to figure out where you're at as an organization and can we get something in return. I can see him being moved.
One story was McCutchen's not going to get traded. Almost like that, hey, if he came back on a one-year deal, we're not going to trade you again. So Kutch will probably still be there.
Unless he says, hey, you're going to put me on a contender. I got a chance to go to a World Series. I agree to that.
Yeah.
It'd have to be a conversation with him, though.
100%. All right, good stuff there from H. We'll check back here.
All right.
Leading off in just a second. In the meantime, who's your favorite team and what move do you want them to make before the trade deadline taking place on August 1st? We got a few responses here. Let's rifle through them. First off, Ryan Fritzberg, the San Francisco Giants. The wish is Ohtani, but realistically, Tim Anderson and one or both of Verlander. By the way, Anderson hasn't hit a home run in a while, but he's hitting very well since the All-Star break. Verlander, of course, has had an up-and-down season. This one here from Fred Durst wearing a sombrero. Angels. Trade Renfroe, Rengifo, Jordan Adams, and find a team desperate to take Rendon, even if you eat half the contract. That's a lot of money. I think you trade Ohtani at this point. I don't think he re-signs, and you can overhaul the farm system, which will benefit for years to come. We're going to talk to Ruben tomorrow about that. How many prospects can you get? 3 top 10 prospects, 4? How's that going to work? Meantime, Craig says Rangers, go get Stroman and Hader. DeGrom's gone. Dane Dunning's been great filling in. You go get Stroman, top 5 starter right now in the National League, and Hader is a lights-out. You already got Chapman. So you can have Hader, Chapman, and in that bullpen, Will Smith. Christopher says Cleveland on either Bellinger or Lane Thomas. Also a left-handed reliever. Belly probably going to go. He's been great, and Lane Thomas been very good for the Washington Nationals. Appreciate the responses from all of you.
So we're set to go, and Harold Reynolds will step in to lead it off.
And here's the action man of the Seattle Mariners, Harold Reynolds.
Big favorite here. Hi, Harold.
Safe at first base is Harold Reynolds. Way back, it is gone.
It depends on where I hit in the lineup, really. And there's been a lot of talk of me hitting leadoff.
Harold Reynolds in the leadoff spot.
Harold Reynolds leading off.
All right, here we go. Ballparks are happening. Teams are getting ready to play some baseball. Guys are getting their work in. Yeah, we're in that great spot, man. Middle towards the end of July and heading into August. But you know what? There's only one game I'm interested in today. That's these guys down here. I want to talk about the Baltimore Orioles. Are we watching them? First place in the East. How have they done it? Well, here it is. Let's take a look at how they've had a combination of guys at first base. They've been able to move guys around. Santander's a DH, but it starts in center. Let's go to Cedric Mullins. Yes, said is a guy who came through the organization, went down to the minor leagues, and transformed his game. Said, I'm just going to hit left-handed. Became an all-star player in 21. We saw him on the WBC team this year. Yes, he's leading the charge. You got to have that guy in the middle doing the things that he can do. So, yeah, you got your star player. Then you go, let's build it up the middle. Well, when they got Adley Rutschman, I'm not the first and only one that said this. This is an all-star catcher, folks, and he's going to be there for a number of years. So you had the backstop to set the tone. I love his enthusiasm. I love the way he comes ready to play every day and lifts everybody up. Everybody gets better. Then we get interesting. Let's go up the middle. Jorge Mateo. Man, I tell you what, this guy's come a long ways. In 2022, he was hitting with a leg kick, right? Trying to figure out what he was doing. It was a little inconsistent, but that's what he did. Then in 2022, one of those blowout games, he hit off a position player, and that little lob ball at 40 miles an hour changed everything for him. You see how he got the little setup and then explode, the little stutter step back, the little step, and then swing. And he carried it over to 2023. This is now his approach. Bernie Williams used to do that. Barry Bonds did that. A little reach step. It's really paid off for him. Hey, how about this move right here, though? Gunnar Henderson, when they drafted him, you thought he was going to be the shortstop. They play him there sometimes, and playing a lot of third base. Crazy, crazy talent. So, yes, they haven't missed on their top picks. We're talking about guys at the top 2 picks with Rutschman and with Henderson in the second round, Rutschman in the first round. You can't miss. Then you got to get trades. Adam Frazier, well, who has this guy been? Remember Adam Frazier in Pittsburgh, man? It was a lot like we're talking about Jonathan India right now, right? Everybody wanted him. Then he went to San Diego, struggled a little bit. Seattle said, let's take him as a free agent. Really didn't do what he did in Pittsburgh. Now in Baltimore, he's rejuvenated. He's found his swing. He's found his place, and he is playing great ball. So that's what's happening. But what about somebody help us get this done? And now joining me, the man that's putting all this together, Executive Vice President and GM of the Orioles, Mike Elias. Mike, great to see you, man.
You too, Harold. Good to be with you.
I thought I might catch you in Philly tonight, but it looks like you're still in the offices in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's a pretty close shot up there to Philadelphia, so maybe I got some time to get there later in the series. But we're a little busy here. There's some stuff going on this week, as you've probably heard.
Is there a trade deadline coming up? Is there some busy things happening?
In the Orioles' prior competitive window, a really successful one at that, had kind of come to a pretty severe halt, and it was time to reset the baseball operations totally. But I knew at the time that there was some talent already in the system, and we worked to develop those guys, and at the same time kind of just continued pulling talent in, young talent from every direction possible, the draft, trades, waiver wire, whatever we could do, and just kept amassing that talent. And it really felt like it kind of spilled out onto the major league field in a very organic way last year, and the team just started winning games.
Yeah, look, we just had a little shot of the board of your organization in the minor leagues. But the biggest thing, Mike, for me, you haven't missed on your number ones. When you have a first pick and a second pick, you can't miss on those first-round draft pick guys or second-rounders. You've done a great job with that. Why have you been successful there?
Well, look, I think anytime you're looking at the draft, it's luck. So we understand there's some good luck involved. But I had a lot of experience with it in Houston with those high picks, and some of it wasn't good experience. We missed on a couple of them. We learned some lessons from it, and it was real experience with kind of the battle scars that you carry with you after you mess something up. But we'd also hit on some great picks there, and I remembered what we did right. And we just tried to apply our best practices going forward with each pick with the Orioles. We've got a very smart group in our scouting and analytics departments, and we just took as much time as we could studying each of these guys, and their careers are just getting started, but so far I'll take it based on what I've seen. We're very happy with the results of our high picks so far.
Yeah, I got a chance to be with a couple of your top picks at the Futures game in Jackson and with Heston. And I got a chance to really talk to Heston about kind of the hitting philosophy in the organization. He's been there now 3 years, and he said it's continued to evolve. And, when we hear analytics, everybody thinks everybody's in the same bucket. But there's growth and there's learning to that as well. What have you learned and the adjustments you've made along the way, applying analytics and also a little bit of the old school, so to speak?
Yeah, I've learned that you have to kind of, if you want to be at the forefront with analytics, you have to sort of ride the wave a little bit, and I mean that it's not always going to be correct, and very often you hear the wisdom of the old baseball opinions that those of us that have spent a lot of time in the game have heard from experienced baseball people be woven back in to what your analytics group is discovering with their latest findings. But once that happens, you're able to operate with a lot more precision because these tools are very objective once you have them in place. So I think, Sig Meidel, our assistant GM who runs our analytics department, and I and a lot of the people that I work with here have a ton of experience dating back to the St. Louis Cardinals in the middle part of the 2000s, trying to balance subjective baseball observations and evaluations with what we're getting from our objective streams, which are always changing depending on the technology that's available, and trying to find the sort of correct balance to put those into place. It's not easy. We get it wrong a lot, but we kind of stick with our process, and over time, we hope for more good results than bad.
Yeah, it's definitely forever changing, but you've been on top of it. You're doing a great job with it. I want to ask you the last thing, trade deadline. As we approach here and the Orioles are sitting in first place, I remember last year you traded your closer and everybody's like, what are you doing? So now, and it seemed to work out for you, what are you looking at as we head to trade deadline to keep yourselves where you're at and head on into the postseason?
It's always a challenging time of year, but I think, from my point of view, it is our last opportunity to pull in major talent to this team. And so whether that comes in the form of upgrades or depth, we're going to be tempted to look at it because it's really hard to bring in new players after the trade deadline. So we're taking it very seriously. We're looking at it. I think when we started the season, we were in the mindset of, kind of increasing our odds to make the playoffs with how tough our division is. But now, we're sitting in first place as I speak, and we're deeper into the season. And I think increasingly, we're getting more of a mindset of how do we increase our odds of a playoff run. So, we're not there yet. We got to get in first and foremost. But this young team is showing us so much that, we're starting to hope that we can put together a team that can make a deep run, and we're going to be looking for opportunities at the trade deadline